The steam locomotive, born of ingenuity, began its journey. It powered the Industrial Revolution, connecting the world. A machine that truly changed the world. Imagine a world without cars, without airplanes, without buses, without giant cities connected to one another. For thousands of years, humanity depended only on horses, wagons, and boats.
Traveling with slow, right?
A simple journey could take weeks, even months, to transport people and goods. Traveling was slow, dangerous, and exhausting. A simple journey could take weeks, even months.
But then, one invention completely changed human history: the locomotive. The giant iron machine that spat smoke, released steam from its sides, and shook the ground as it moved along the tracks.
It wasn't just an invention. It was the beginning of the modern industrial age. And today you will discover who first had the idea, who created the engine, how it worked, what powered it, whether it was safe or dangerous, who created the tracks, which country it all began in, and how this machine changed the planet forever. But before we begin, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and share this story with someone who loves incredible inventions, giant machines, and history-changing stories. Now, prepare yourself to travel back in time. The world before the locomotive. Long before the locomotive existed, land transportation was extremely limited. Roads were terrible, filled with mud, holes, bandits. During rainstorms, wagons got stuck. During winter, people froze to death. Horses became exhausted quickly, and transporting heavy cargo was a huge problem. Entire countries struggled to grow because they simply could not move products fast enough. That was when some people began wondering, what if there were a machine capable of pulling tons of weight without horses? At the time, it sounded impossible, but something powerful was beginning to emerge: the power of steam. The discovery of steam power. Many ancient civilizations had already noticed that heated water created powerful steam, but for centuries, nobody knew how to use it practically. Then, during the 17th and 18th centuries, inventors began studying steam-powered machines. One of the first major names was Thomas Newcomen. Around 1712, he created a massive steam machine in England. But it was enormous, slow, and consumed huge amounts of fuel. It was mainly used to remove water from coal mines. Even so, it was revolutionary, because for the first time, a machine could generate power without animals. But there was still one problem: it could not move. The man who improved the engine. Years later came another extremely important name: James Watt. Many people believe James Watt invented the steam engine, but in reality, he dramatically improved it. He realized the older engines wasted too much energy, so he designed improvements that made the engine stronger, more efficient, and far more economical. Now steam power was becoming truly powerful. And how did it work? Basically like this. Coal was burned inside a furnace, water was heated, steam created pressure. The pressure pushed pistons, and the pistons turned giant wheels. It was like a mechanical heart beating inside a machine made of iron. The main fuel was coal, a lot of coal. That is why old locomotives released huge clouds of black smoke. But who had the idea of putting it on wheels? That is where another historic figure entered the story: Richard Trevithick. In the early 1800s, he had a crazy idea. What if we place a steam engine on wheels? Many people laughed at him. They said it was dangerous, too heavy, impossible. But Richard Trevithick refused to give up. And in 1804, he built one of the first locomotives in history. It traveled on tracks while pulling wagons filled with ore. People were shocked. A machine moving by itself, without horses. It seemed almost supernatural. But there were still problems. The locomotives broke down often, they were unstable, and the tracks were not strong enough. Who invented the tracks? The truth is, tracks already existed before locomotives. Many mines used pathways made of wood or iron to move wagons manually. These early track systems appeared mainly in Europe, especially in England. Over time, engineers realized that metal wheels running on metal rails greatly reduced friction. That meant heavier loads could be moved with much less effort. Later, tracks began being made from cast iron and eventually steel, and that changed everything, because now locomotives could travel long distances. The first modern railway systems were created mainly in United Kingdom. England became the heart of the Industrial Revolution. The man who changed everything. But one name became forever connected with locomotives: George Stephenson. He was born into a poor family and worked in coal mines. Despite having little formal education, he became obsessed with machines. George taught himself how steam engines worked. Then he began building better locomotives, stronger, faster, more reliable. In 1825, his locomotive, called Locomotion No. 1, carried passengers on a public railway. It was historic. But the real breakthrough came a few years later, with the famous locomotive, Rocket. The Rocket was fast for its time, very fast. It could reach around 45 km/h. Today that sounds slow, but at the time, people were terrified. Some believed the human body could not survive such speeds. Others thought the wind would rip the air from passengers' lungs. Some doctors even claimed fast travel could drive people insane. But the exact opposite happened. Railways exploded across the world. The age of railways. Soon many nations began building railways. The United States, France, Germany, Russia, and eventually almost the entire world. Locomotives transported coal, food, wood, animals, people, weapons, machines. Entire cities grew around train stations. Jobs appeared. Trade expanded. The world began moving faster. For the first time in history, great distances suddenly became smaller. Were locomotives safe? At first, not really. The early locomotives were dangerous. There were boiler explosions, derailments, fires. Many engineers died while trying to improve the systems. The machines became incredibly hot. Steam pressure was enormous. If something failed, boom! A massive explosion could happen. But over time, engineers developed better brakes, stronger rails, safer pressure systems, railway signals, constant maintenance, and train travel became much safer. The locomotive changed time itself. It may sound unbelievable, but locomotives literally changed the way humans understood time. Before railways, each town followed its own local time based on the sun. But trains required precise schedules. That led to the creation of standardized time systems. Yes, railways even helped create a modern system of time. Railways in the United States. One country where railroads became incredibly important was the United States. During the 19th century, railways helped connect the eastern and western parts of the country. Before the railroads, crossing America could take months. But trains dramatically reduced travel time. One of the most historic moments was the creation of the Transcontinental Railroad. It connected vast regions of the nation for the very first time. Railroads transported gold, food, industrial products, settlers, soldiers. Entire towns appeared along the tracks. The railroads helped transform the United States into an industrial superpower. Without the railways, America's rapid expansion might never have happened the same way. If you're enjoying this story, leave a like right now. It really helps the channel continue bringing epic stories like this one. And comment below. Would you dare ride inside an old steam locomotive? Share this video with someone who loves machines, inventions, and legendary history. And if you want to support the channel even more, the link is right below. The sound that marked an era. The sound of locomotives became a symbol of progress, the whistle echoing through cities, the ground shaking, the iron wheels spinning, the steam blasting into the air. It represented the future arriving. For many people at the time, seeing a locomotive for the first time felt like witnessing a living mechanical monster, the arrival of electric and diesel trains. Over time, new technologies emerged. Electric engines appeared. Then diesel engines arrived. Steam locomotives slowly began disappearing because they required huge amounts of coal, water, and maintenance. But even today, they still fascinate people around the world. Many museums continue preserving historic locomotives in working condition. And when one of them starts moving, it feels like traveling back in time. The legacy of the locomotive. Without the locomotive, the modern world might never have existed as we know it. It accelerated industry, commerce, travel, cities, the global economy. It connected nations, brought people closer together, and paved the way for modern transportation. It all began with steam, iron, coal, and people brave enough to dream of impossible machines. Powerful ending. From the dark smoke of the first locomotives, a new world was born. The sound of steam echoed across continents, and humanity was never the same again, because when the first locomotive began to move, the future moved with it. If you enjoyed this story, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, share with someone who loves historical inventions, and comment below. Which invention should be the next epic story?